real quick for Jim. Hey, what did that 3-dialer, was a freed receiver, a wooden $3 go for? Oh, there was a battery set at the with all the equipment there being sold off at the auction, and I was wondering, and Gary was also wondering what that. There was a $3 wooden radio. I think it was Freed, made by Freed. Do you remember seeing that? Alrighty.
Okay. Yeah, Jim. Actually, I do know about the city news service because in ancient times. Anyway, 50 years ago, when myself, Jim Steffens, KC6A, and a number of our friends, we sent the first video to the shuttle spacecraft that was ever done. And so we were sitting around Jim's house after doing that and said, well, gee, we could get some good advertisement for ham radio. Now we're successful to send the first video into outer space to some living creature out there. And so we started calling around to the different stations, and it was like, don't bother us. Finally called Channel 9, and they said, call the city news, and so we did. And they were very interested, and they asked us all sorts of questions over the phone. And then all hell broke loose. And then we spent the rest of the day with all the different networks, ABC, CBS, NBC. Everybody came out to Jim's house and videotaped it and videotaped interviews. So yeah. That's the first time I ever heard of him. I didn't know a thing about it. Okay, let's go to Tom, AJ6TT. Good, Tom. That's great. Let's see if Gary may be with us, W7BIP. Okay, let's go to Don, K6DLP.
Hey, everybody. Good morning. K6DLP here checking in. Not a whole lot of reports. Two reports. Just doing the day-to-day things to keep the business running and customers happy. And I'm going to leave all the DX news to you, Will, and especially John. John seems to have a really good grasp on it. I'm really impressed. And we'll go from there. K6DLP.
Yeah, Bray.
Yes.
Yeah. Let me turn the volume down. Don, you gotta, I mean, you don't have to elaborate, but tell them that you made your first contact on 6-meter FM to South America. You actually came out of the woodwork and you made that contact. Tell everybody about it.
Well, that was easy. I mean, you and Will got the poor guy going. I just stepped on the old coattail and made a contact, but that was pretty cool. I've never done that on 6 before, especially FM. I've worked plenty of 6-meter DX on here in California, Washington, Oregon, probably Texas, I think. Maybe even Idaho, I forget now. So that was definitely pretty cool. Oh, and that was on sideband, the other contacts. But yeah, that was definitely cool.
All right, and it only took, let them know that you were receiving them, you said 40 over or something like that, so let them know how strong the signals were. I mean, it's just amazing.
Oh, yeah, at times, of course, you have the sporadic fade and stuff, but the guy was actually pinning my needle at 60 over, and all I'm running is a Cushcraft AR6X. So it was that was definitely a lot of fun.
All right, I just wanted to share your moment with everybody because it was kind of neat. All right, Will, continue.
Okay, let's go to Gary for his report, W6RYO.
All right. Well, I'm here. Had a good time. Gary, W6RYO, in case anybody cares. Enjoyed the meet yesterday. Getting up at 5:30 I wasn't crazy about, but I guess I can do that once or twice a year and live through it. No, it was fun seeing Jim. He was next to us, and met some people and saw some people that I already knew, and I did buy a couple of radios. A friend of John's had two Hallicrafter Sky Buddies. They're the S19. They're before the S38. As he said, this is the one. It's basically kind of the same radio, but it won't kill you because it has a transformer in there. So if you plug it in wrong, the S38 always had the problem that if you plug it in backwards, that chassis goes hot and your eyes light up. But he had a couple of them, so I gave him $45 for the two, and then I got one on the bench, built about 1939. They're both in really good shape. I put the Variac on one yesterday, and started bringing the voltage up, and the filaments seemed to light, and that's about it. But so I'm going to play with that. It's kind of a funky radio. The way the dial is. The dial's on the outside, and it's strange. You need to look it up. So anyway, I got a couple of those I'll play with and get one going on the bench. I could get my money back. They're going for anywhere from $75 to $110 on eBay. So that'll be kind of fun. I'll play with that. And, between the two of them, I should get one working. So nothing else really. It was not a bad drive out there. Just a little over a half an hour to get to Burbank. So that wasn't bad. A little bit of traffic on the 210 on the way back. But, I just don't understand where all these people are going on a Saturday. Are there no workhouses? Are there no jobs? I mean, what are all these people doing driving around on my freeway on a Saturday, no less? I understand if they're pretending they're going to work. Anyway, let me think. I think that's about it. Heard a little bit of you guys on the 60-meter net through Santiago. So I was listening to that on the HT a little bit. But, so anyway, I got a couple radios to play with, so it'll keep me out of the bars. So anyway, that's my story. The 6-meter stuff was pretty neat. I mean, working a guy in Brazil on 6 meters FM was nice. And there's slight redemption for you there, John. Yesterday evening, ZLs did come in, but it was on the real mode. You know, CW and digital are the only real modes. The rest of it's just, you know, fake stuff. But they were all down, you know, minus 10 and lower, so they wouldn't be coming up on sideband. But there was a ZL that came in, so worked him. And I think I worked a couple of them. So they were there, just didn't hear any VKs. But hopefully the band will improve. It was pretty amazing with the South Americans all over the place. So, all right, that's enough for me. That's more talking than I've done in 2 weeks here, so I'll let somebody else talk. A6DD, W6ROL.
Yeah, Gary, yeah, John was trying to stir the pot up with me. The day that I said the ZLs and the VKs and stuff would come in, they did come in later in the day, but it was on FT8. But we were actually talking about sideband, so technically John's right. But if you're going to say the real test is FT8, well,
am I talking over you? No.
Right. So it's a toss-up. All right. Well, it's enough of me.
Yeah, and John, why do you always make the assumption that I don't know what's going on? There are times I don't, but I was listening to the whole thing, even though I wasn't commenting.
Yeah, but I thought maybe you were taking your afternoon nap in the morning.
No. I take my afternoon nap before I get up in the morning. Go ahead, Will, before this gets stranger.
Very good, Gary. Yeah, I consider the Sky Buddy 2, made in the late 1960s, to be a masterpiece of design. It was amazing radio. Just the American 5 is in it, but it's optimized to the nth degree. It actually has a transformer in it too. And they stopped it at 18 megs. It tunes up to 18 megs. Has a circular dial on it. For what it is perfection. and you can tell that the last of the great vacuum tube engineers designed that thing after years of experience of designing radios, because it is perfection. You know, it's up there with the Holocrafter SR42 and SR46 2-meter and 6-meter transceivers. Those were produced also at about the same time frame and designed by probably the same team. And here again, they are absolutely a perfection of design, doing the absolute most with what you've got to do. You got to work with, and no flaws, no images, no that you can hear or tell really. No drift, to speak of. If you're listening to AM at least. So. Anyways, my admiration for those is without measure. Let's see if Kim is with us, K6YYL. Yeah, go ahead, please. Okay, very good. Thank you for those. Well, nice looking numbers, but I think everything is slowing down now. The MEF was quite high this morning, and 10 was outrageous, so 10 is still outrageous. let's see, where do we go? Let's see if John is out there, W7RSO. Okay, yeah, very good, John. Well, I keep educating John, RF, John, and about propagation, and he doesn't believe me, telling him what transfer backscatter does. Let me explain again for everybody's benefit. Where the sun is along the equator, when it's right over the equator, or close to it at least, there's two hot spots, MUF hot spots, that exist behind it. And they are all about 10 degrees apart, as measured on the Earth's surface. So they're 10 degrees behind and about 10 degrees apart. So one of them is north of the equator and one of them is south of the equator. And these hot spots just follow the sun all the way around and around the Earth. Those MUFs are, on average, 1.5 times higher MUF than mid-latitudes, and they could be even higher than that, than the mid-latitudes. So when you propagate to South Africa, Chile, Argentina, New Zealand, Australia, you hit those hot spots and refract horizontal across the equator. The signal goes up, hits one hot spot, goes horizontal across the equator, hits the second hot spot, and comes down. But at this, and so the vast majority of the signal goes that way, the vast majority. But some of it actually refracts back all the way back to North America, and indeed all the southern states, especially from North Carolina to Florida, Tennessee, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Oklahoma, Texas, Arizona, Nevada, and California is there. They're weaker. They're down another 20 dBs or more, sometimes even greater than that. But they're there, and I did hear them. John didn't hear any, but I heard 7s on backscatter during the opening. Anyway, John, let's hear your big report now. Now that I've tried to paint a picture for everybody, AA6RF, AA6NDD.
Yeah, AA6RF to the group. And not much radio activity this week. I've been doing mostly gardening. I didn't do much. No, okay. I did do a lot on RF stuff, and actually, I'm going to leave the contact stuff to the second half, but the first half, before I put you to sleep, I'm going to put you to sleep before I put you to sleep, so I'm going to start off first with this. And it has to kind of do with the backscatter thing that Will was just talking about. Normally, okay, I'm talking about now with FT8. I'm using FT8 as a predictor. I'm trying to predict propagation, but I don't really know when the propagation is going to be strong enough for sideband, so I'm using FT8. And if the FT8 signals come up high enough, well, then it gives me the opportunity to think, well, okay, maybe sideband will work. So here's the story. When you're transmitting, if there's no propagation, you send out a signal and nobody's going to receive your signal because there's no propagation. As it gets stronger and stronger with FT8, signals hear you. Well, before the opening we had on sideband, I was putting out signals on FT8. Now, I was doing it with 400 watts. 400 watts is a lot of power for FT8. I mean, I'm ashamed to even admit it. But when I'm putting out that much power, I'm getting people to hear me. But I'm only getting maybe 30 or 40 people at once that hear me. When the opening happened, and the 30 or 40 people are mainly down in South America, a few here in the States, but it's backscatter. Well, when the opening happened, there was an individual in Upland he stayed on FT8, and he was doing the same thing. He was getting 20 or 30 hits every time he'd transmit. Well, when it opened, he had over 400 people receive him on FT8, and these 400 people on FT8 were connected to a computer reporting. There was many more people than that, but they weren't connected to a computer reporting the data. But the people that were on the computer reporting, every state in the United States lit up, with the exception of Alaska. I didn't see Alaska, but it backscattered off of the equator. It came back, and every state in the United States lit up from that one signal put out, hit the equator and came back. And the signals were weak. I mean, they were minus 20 to minus 7 or whatever. But he had a beam, and he had a lot of power, 100 watts of power. So it just goes to show when the band opens, the signals happen, but they have to be strong for sideband to work. And it was only fortunate it was really fortunate for about a 2-hour time frame. The signals were strong enough. So here in Southern California, we had a good connection to South America. And that's the strongest signals that anybody was working. We couldn't work anybody stateside. It was all South America stuff on sideband. So that's my story, Will, and I'll get to the contact stuff on the second go around.
Okay. Yeah, it was. We could tell it was building that day, but me and John was sitting here BSing on 50.300 FM. When a full-fighting Hawaii station broke in on us on FM, and we weren't shocked that was somebody broke in. That was DX. We were just shocked that it was Hawaii, really way ahead of schedule, because it usually should be following the sun. And this is the first thing we heard, which was way past the sun. All right, let's see. Well, it's John's turn here, KU6X.
All righty. Well, turn this other thing down. Yes to all of that. Excuse me. Well, I'll just start off with scars a little bit. Yeah, we had a good time there. Saw quite a few people there I hadn't seen for years, and I sold some stuff and gave more stuff away. Came to the point where the difference between my satisfaction between giving stuff away and making money off it just disappeared. So I just as soon give stuff away that somebody can use. Those two Sky Buddies that Gary bought from my friend David, K6YL, I can't remember his call sign. in Burbank. There, he lives about a quarter mile from the event. Those old Sky Buddies were with the silver dial, a German silver dial. That was very common in all the Hallicrafters receivers pre-war. If you go back to the very first ones, the majority of the stuff before about 1938 had those German silver dials, and it's unusual to find those dials in good condition because they usually corrode very, very badly. So if you got two with those silver dials, you kind of hit. It was a good deal from Dave. I'm glad he sold them to you. Well, let's see here. The one particularly interesting thing I saw was a guy had 3 pre-World War II television sets, and they were in kit form back in those days. Perhaps slightly after, maybe after World War II also, but they were in kit form, and those are very, very rare. And 10 years ago, I would have been all over those things, but interests have changed. So he had one with a 2-inch screen and one with a couple with a 5-inch screen. But those, if you look in the really old magazines, some of the TV stuff was provided in kits. So they look like an oscilloscope. If you look at them from the front, they look like they're an oscilloscope, but then they have some RF stuff on the chassis. So they were TV sets. So that was very cool. Yeah. Anyway, I'm also working on my slick little antenna I'm going to come up with. Trying to do away with the roller inductors that I have, and to make them more reliable and cheaper. So it'll be a cool antenna if it works like I think it will. Anyway, that's it, Will. AA6ED KU6X.
Do we have any late missed or visitor check-ins before we go around again? Call sign, please. Hearing none. Let's go back up to Jim, WA6YOS. Very fine, Jim. Let's go to Tom, AJ6PP. Okay, thank you, Tom. Let's go to Don, K60LP.
I don't have a whole lot to add, actually none at all. Just working on a XPR program here, trying to, it's a new one I've been messing with for a Motorola radio, so trying to figure out all the ins and outs of it. What's coming up? Nothing's really coming up. Nothing new going in. I still got to get my grandson over here to help me sort out antenna cables. I've got, how many towers do I have? Well, technically 3, I guess. 3 towers up. Most of them I know what it is, but the big tower, somehow when I put it in, I didn't mark the cable, so I don't know which one's the 6 meter, 2 meter, so forth and so on. So plenty of projects to do anyway. K6DLP.
Quick one for Don.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Don, we were talking to a couple of people, at least one person there at our Burbank swap meet, and those hills, you know, that are to the east of Burbank proper. One guy was saying he had a repeater up there. What mountains are those? And I'm sure you're familiar with other repeaters on that ridge.
I'd have to look at a map for sure, but it's south Burbank, and then immediately to the east, I would think Flint Ridge.
That could be, but I know there's. He had one repeater up there, and we were saying, well, Don for sure has repeaters up along that ridge.
Or maybe Verdugo. I don't have anything on Verdugo anymore. We pulled that stuff out years ago. Never had anything on Flint. No reason for it. Between Oat, Lucas, and Sunset, I so out-talk Flint, it's not funny.
Okay. I'll try to figure out more what they were talking about. Thanks.
Okay, 60 LP.
Okay, W6RYO.
All right, I'm still here at W6RYO. Yeah, I think they were more northeast, John, because of the way the sun was coming up. But yeah, there's several sites along those ridges. I don't know what they are. I didn't know yesterday, don't know today. So anyway, all right, well, while you were talking, I got the bottom panel off of one of these Sky Buddies, and it's very clean. I'm kind of amazed. You know, most of the old original cloth-coated wiring in there, but I did find that the main filter capacitor, the 4-part cap, 2 of the pins are still there. 2 were cut off and replaced with your radial axial leads, more modern. You know, they could have been from the 60s, modern to that era, but you know, the more modern electrolytic. So somebody went through it and fixed up the caps, but otherwise it's pretty much original. You know, the rubber mounts and stuff are pretty much rotted, but you know, that's what you expect. So anyway, I'll get this thing fired up, and between the 2 of them, I'll get one of them fired up. And you know, the one thing I like about the Sky Buddy versus the Sky Buddy 2, the Sky Buddy 2 looks like something that Allied would have put out or Radio Shack would have put out at the time. You know, whereas the Sky Buddy's in the black crinkle case and big dials and knobs, and you know, it looks impressive. So yeah, and those TVs, I walk right past them, Jim. I said, some kind of homemade scope? I mean, that's awfully small screen, and didn't think much of it. But John, with his infinite more knowledge, reminded me that those are the original some of the original TVs. You know, and I thought about it and went, ugh, you know, but, you know, like Jim says, then it would have gone from me to somebody else. And like that one radio John's talking about in the auction. It was intriguing because it was a, you know, 1920s era tuned RF, you know, just 3 knobs and 1 for each RF stage, and then they detect it. And I might have got it for a good price, but then I would have had it. I just, you know, kind of neat, but you know, it's hard to impress people that don't understand when you go, this is, you know, radio from 1920s. Yeah, so what? So yeah, I kind of glad I didn't stick around for the auction, because it might have gone real cheap, but hopefully somebody got a good deal. All right, well, that's it. I'm going to put a little time in on this thing. You know, like I say, I brought it up with the Variac, and I'll do some voltage measurements and, you know, see what's going on. It appears the filaments are coming on. So, you know, good project's always fun. Let me think. I can't think of anything else going on. No, the next thing coming up is going to be the T-Hunt, and I think I'm ready for that. Like I said, going to try to pawn John off on the other John, you know, X to RF. Almost like, you know, X equals RF plus squared. Yeah, that could be an Einstein equation. X equals RF squared. Anyway. Oh, I think my mind is still in first gear from getting up at 5:30 yesterday. So everybody enjoy. Have a great Sunday and a great weekend. And we'll catch everybody later. AA6, D and a D, W6RY and an O.
X squared equals RF.
X squared equals RF. How about the square root of RF?
All right, that sounds good too.
Okay, John.
All right, we get to go to Kim. I understand, Kim, you worked, besides all the rest of the stuff which you can go over with us. Later on, you worked Hawaii. Was that on sideband, I think, and not FM? K6YYL, A630D. All right. Well, I knew you were. We all heard you trying, and it was on his end. Obviously, he had a noise level and couldn't hear. And everybody else that had been working was running at least 200 watts in a beam, or much greater than yours. But you heard him, and you know what can you say? Anyway, what all did you work on sideband? Okay, anything else? We'll go along. Okay, let's go to John, W7RSO. Okay. Yeah, this madness all sort of started on Tuesday at 10 o'clock in the morning. We heard PJ4MM in grid square FK52. And that's an island off of Venezuela. and John heard him, and he was working Arizona stations. But then lots of stations started calling him, including me and John. And the guy got so frustrated, he went off the air. He got frustrated. So, anyway, which was kind of sad. And then Friday, I and John were sitting on about 300, chit-chatting back and forth of what was building, what looked like was coming our way. And then Hawaii broke in on us, and he was full quieting. He was an S9, literally full quieting. We both worked him on 50.300 FM. And we were just surprised because John had been down on Fox Tango 8 working stuff, and so we knew it was getting hotter and hotter from John's reports there. And like I say, the only thing was, I was surprised that it was already coming in from Hawaii that far out when it should be back following the sun. And then all hell broke loose from then on. It was really phenomenal and lots of fun. Let's go to John, AA6RF.
Yeah, AA6RF. John, RSO John, I want to thank you. He got my FC8 back up. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have the information that I had. It got me rejuvenated, and I think John helped me out like on Monday or Tuesday. So I was able to get back on the air for 6 meter to start checking out the stuff. But anyway, for the last 4 or 5 years, 6 years or whatever that I've known Will, he's been teaching me all kinds of stuff, and most of it, or not most of it, but a big part of it was propagation, how to look at stuff, when to find openings and how stuff works. So I put all that stuff together with all the computer stuff that we have now. Will's not a computer guy, but with all the computer stuff and all the knowledge that Will has taught me, now I'm trying to help Will out, teaching him some stuff with all this data that we have at our fingertips. So Will and I have been working back and forth on trying to predict this stuff, and everything pointed toward the day that it was going to happen. Well, we knew it was going to happen like on Thursday, but it was just too active. We had a big magnetic storm hit, and that's all the numbers and everything correlated to what Will said, and what matched back in the last open that we had where we got to work South America and New Zealand. But the same phenomenon was happening all over again, but this time I was aware of it. I knew what it looked like, and then I'm on it. Now I have FC8 to give me a precursor of the signals coming up, and this time I got to actually see the signal levels rising, and so before it happened, I contacted Will and I said, look, Will, it's going to happen, it's going to happen, and then of course, like you said, Hawaii came in. I called John up, KU6X, told him about it about 15-20 minutes before it happened, and then the rest is history. We made lots and lots of contacts, and I don't know, I probably made 3 or 4 DX contacts on FM, to 3 to South America, or 2 to South America, 1 and 2 to Hawaii, and the rest were all South American stations, so that was on sideband. and then later in the day when it calmed down and there was no more sideband, the FT8 was still working up until about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So it was from like at 8:30 to 4 o'clock. FT8 was good to extremely good in the middle parts, but that's about it. And John, thanks for getting me motivated back again into FT8. And the PSK reporter, it's phenomenal how it reports FT8 and all the signals and levels and stuff that everybody receives. I wasn't really aware that it was just like Whisper data, except it's on steroids. There's just so much more activity on 6 meter. 6 meter Whisper is quiet. FT8 is times 100 on FT8, much more data for FT8 on PSK reporters. So that's it, Will. I'm about talked out of. I'll let you continue and down the line.
Yep. No, John has mastered it all now, and we have all this new scientific information we can look at. That the reporter there was an amazing picture. I mean, it's been through my mind's eye for many decades, but to see it on a real map, we couldn't scientifically prove it before. It was all hearsay, but now it's demonstrable evidence. I might also let everybody have a little historical thing that we're going to John the Tidy Ribbons here shortly. Argentina is different than most of the South American countries. One, because it has historically had a middle class and has had more Europeans, especially Italians. In fact, an expert that I talked to was one of my students. He spoke perfect Spanish and was from Argentina and was a high class. His father was the head of communications in Argentina. One of my course to get his hand license here in the United States. And I asked him, can you tell by accident what countries of people who are speaking Spanish, and if you get the Portuguese in Brazil? And he said, yeah, we can, he says Argentina is the easiest because we speak Spanish with an Italian accent. And I asked him about a number of words in Spanish, and he gave me the real definition and not the slang definition for the terms, which was interesting. Anyway, so they've had engineers and technicians. Other places in South America, and even historically, didn't have engineers and technicians. They only have the super rich and the super poor and nothing in between. So when we used to have openings in South America and we get into Argentina, these guys most signals were CW. Most signals were 10-watt CW signals. There were AM signals that would come through initially back the first ones. There was no sideband available. And they would build everything, including winder transformers, because of the economics of it. So that's what we used to hear back in the 50s and early 60s was CW and AM. Relatively low power, 226 finals usually, and these guys who had built it all, their converters and their transmitters and everything. Of course, today that's totally different. They got modern equipment and beams and antennas, so they match is much easier. They do have a lot of. They still have more hams in Argentina than any other South American country. So that's some background and historical background. All right. Let's go to John, the Tied Ribbons, KU6X.
All right, John, KU6X Upland here. Yeah, that's very fascinating, Will. I remember in 5th grade geography class, we learned all the South American countries and their capitals and what they did and everything, but they didn't talk about ham radio stuff because I wasn't ham back when I was in 5th grade. It took another couple grades before I got a license. But that's really, really interesting. I worked with a mechanical engineer who was from Argentina, Carlos, I forgot his last name. Really, really smart guy. We had a lot of things in common. We both liked Formula One racing. But it was quite a few years ago. I think he moved back down to Argentina. But Argentina's had their political issues with the Perón family and all that. But and they also got a lot of Germans right following World War II, probably before World War II ended. And there's a whole colony along in the mountains there of German. You'd go into these towns and you'd think they were German. It's like a Swiss chalet or a German chalet. Really fascinating. And of course, a lot of Israelis were hunting for some of the Germans there. Very interesting history. And some of the old movies, too, about Argentina are very interesting. Anyway, that's it, Will. AA60D KU6X.
Yeah, who is the two famous American banditos that, to get away from North American police, went to Argentina? Does anybody know who I'm thinking of?
Butch Cassidy, but they were in Paraguay or Uruguay or Bolivia, I believe.
Oh, Bolivia. I thought they went all the way to Argentina, but yeah, I'm sure you're right. Anyway, yeah. But yes, yeah. There had already been some Germans that had settled. Like I say, Argentina had a greater mix of Europeans than other Argentina's South American countries. So they already had, of course, some Germans there. But yeah, at the end of the war, all the Nazis ran to Argentina, and then some of them were eventually hunted down. And yeah, no, it has well, that doesn't surprise me that your friend there was from Argentina, because, like I say, he was middle class and had a middle class education and got it to the United States and, made some good money for a number of years probably, and went back and bought a nice hacienda and retired. So that's nice. All right. Any comments, questions, anything from anybody before we shut her down?
I think you may be correct about Butch Cassidy having stayed in Argentina, but they actually met their demise. I think it was in Bolivia. Go ahead.
Oh yeah. Now that you remind me, yeah, that's right. They ran again. That's correct. That's right. Yes. Okay. Any other late missed visitor check-ins, comments, or questions? Call signs, please. All right, hearing none. It's been a wonderful net. Phenomenal opening. There's no meters like 6 meters. With that, we'll clear and go to 50.300 FM and squelch it up.
Yeah, RSO, don't take off yet. I just pulled up the data the other day when you were on 6 meter. There was a station in Italy that picked you up. You didn't make a contact there, but he heard you. And let's see, you were a minus 11 into him. Well, I see the contact you made into Puerto Rico. with him, but you weren't on very long. You must have just transmitted once or twice. Well, you made it into Italy. Let's see, it was 8. Let's see, what time frame was it? 8:30 in the morning. 8:30 in the morning, you made it into Italy on the 6 meter. You've looked at PSK Reporter. Okay, I just pulled up for the last week. You haven't been on it much. Maybe one day or something, or 2 days, a couple transmits, but it's not going to show you unless you transmit. But you did, and Italy picked you up. That was amazing. I can't even get in to Europe on 10 meter, and you did it on 6. Yeah, I know. I just wanted to throw that out there to pump your head up to get you motivated. All right, AA6RF clear.